Hey everyone, so welcome to the Security Talk by Quill Audits. So I am Razzor and I am a smart contract auditor at Quill Audits. And today what we will be discussing is all about unlimited ERC20 allowance, or popularly known as bad approve. So before jumping into that, let's just take a quick refresher for approve and transferFrom functionality in context to ERC20 tokens, right? So we know approve is kind of a permission from owner of the tokens, or you can say the holder of the tokens, to a spender. So let's just take an example over that. For example, you are a user and you have, let's say, 1000 tokens in your wallet. So approve is kind of giving a permission to another user. Let's call it B, and you are user A. So approve is kind of giving a permission to user B to spend your tokens from your wallet on your behalf. So user B can spend anywhere it wants on the basis of how much allowance you have provided to it. Alright, so user B can call transferFrom from the owner of those tokens to a recipient address, which can be the user B itself, and the amount which should be less than or equal to the allowance issued by the user A, or the owner of the tokens. Alright, so this is how the approve and transferFrom functionality is all about, and we all know about it and very familiar about it. Now let's just take an example. Now we also know we must have seen this behavior while interacting with DeFi projects, because let's take an example over that to better understand about it, like why where it is being used and why it is necessary. So let's say there's a DeFi project which is offering you or all the users staking rewards. So there's a contract and users can stake their tokens to earn some rewards, right? Now to stake your tokens into the contract, what will happen? The contract must be having permission to take your contract and deposit it into the contract, right? So in order to do that, you have to approve the contract to spend your tokens on your behalf, right? So we all are familiar about this logic and how this works. So this all is fine. Now imagine, now let's just talk about what is the flaw in this approve and transferFrom mechanism, and how it can be leveraged to trick user, or how it can act like a phishing project, if there's a malicious project, how it can trick the user, or how it can steal all the funds from a user wallet based on the allowance. Alright, so what DeFi projects can do, as they already have, because we do to approve a contract, what we usually do, we give the contract an unlimited amount of allowance. We will see this in action in just a moment. So what we do, we provide the contract an unlimited ERC20 allowance. So the contract is having an allowance of like all the tokens you have in your wallet. So if this is a rogue project, like if in the backend there's kind of hidden implementation of functionality, it can steal all your funds because you as a user have provided this contract like a lot of allowance, and it has the permission to spend your tokens on your behalf, right? So let's just see this in action. You can head over to cyphershastra.com, and there is a tab as Limitless. So it is kind of implementation of a malicious project. You can take it up as a phishing project, like how it can steal all of your tokens, because you as a user is just interacting with the Dapp itself or the UI, and you're not having a backend knowledge of like how the smart contract is created and how it's working. So like currently, like if you want, you can take some tokens from the force. I already have some. I have 100 raised tokens. So in order to like, let's just verify my smartness at this point. So it will say very smart because I have not approved the contract yet. So we know in order to stake our tokens, we need to approve the tab to spend my tokens, and so that it can deposit into the contract. So as the steps are mentioned as well. So let's just approve it. It gives a MetaMask pop-up, which we are already familiar about. It is asking that the site is asking a permission to spend your raise. So what we do, we just hit confirm. And we'll wait for the transaction to confirm. It's done. Right, and now let's check my smartness again. It's saying not so smart, my friend. Now why it is saying that, we'll get that in a moment. Now if I check my wallet, you can see there are 100 raised in my wallet, or I have 100 raised tokens. Now let's just try to stake just one of my tokens. I'm not taking 100. I'm not staking 100 of my tokens. I'm just staking one of my token. Let's just do that. Let's wait for the transaction to confirm. Alright, it's done. Now let's just go back to my wallet assets, and you can see I have 0 raised tokens in my wallet. The Dapp has basically like stolen all my money, all my funds, which was there in my wallet initially. So what the backend logic is doing with this Dapp, there are slight modifications in the functions. So it's just taking the approval as a very large number or unlimited allowance, and after having an unlimited allowance, what just staking function do, or like if you call the stake function, what it will do, it will just it doesn't matter like how many tokens you are staking, it will just take all of your money because it has the allowance provided by you to do so. So it can steal all your funds. as we had just seen, right? So this is how on the basis of unlimited allowance a project, if it's malicious and if we don't know that the project is audited, or like even if it's audited, like the developers can modify at the very end, like besides the audited project they can deploy a different project to trick users to rug pull funds, right? So we need to take care about how much allowance we are giving of our tokens, right? So let's just take the exploit that happened. So there was a similar kind of project, was called as Unicats. So what Unicats did, it exploited the users first like 2 times. It like not only to steal all the money which was deposited into the contract, it rug pulled that, but also because the project had the allowance, that had unlimited allowance, it also had stolen all the funds from the users' wallets. So I will drop a link of this post. You can read more about it. I will drop the link in the video description. So now the question is how we can remove this allowance. Like if I found the project is malicious and it can rug pull soon, or it can steal my funds, and now I want to remove all my allowance. Now as you are seeing here on the Dapp, there is a approve implementation. It's just for the sake of demo, to let you know or to help you understand how all these features can work. Now you must not be having this approve function or approve button in other projects to like change your allowance. It depends upon the functions you are triggering, like staking and withdrawing. So you must not be having this approve function in the dApps. So what you can do, either you can like if you have the developer knowledge, you can like call the interface and change the allowance, or you can just head over to these sites which do this for you, like revoke.cash or this dbank.com. So here let me just refresh it. Alright, so it's not showing me an unlimited allowance because I have 0 raised tokens. If I can get some tokens, got it. So I have now 100 tokens back. Now if I go to revoke.cash, it will give me an unlimited allowance for the token address. Right here you can see I have 100 raised tokens and I have given unlimited allowance to the token address. So what we can do, we can revoke this and hit confirm. Alright, so now the allowance is gone from the web page. Now if you move back to the page of the tab and check your smartness again, it will say very smart because now you have removed all your allowance from the Dapp. So like now there's a question for a non-technical audience, like for every user, how to verify how much allowance the Dapp is asking from my wallet, right? So it's very simple. If you like, as we are approving the Dapp, so there's a simple pop-up. Now what we miss is to check the transaction details. So if you head over to view full transaction details and go into the permission, and in the amount section you will see it is asking a very large number as an allowance, so which we do not want the Dapp to get the allowance. So what we can do, we can always edit this permission. So here you can see it is asking me an unlimited allowance. So what we can do, we can give a custom spend limit to the Dapp. Let's say if I'm staking 100 tokens, I can give 100 token worth of allowance to the contract. Now you can see it has the permission of 100 raise. Alright, so this is how you can save yourself from giving an unlimited allowance to a project which you have no idea, like it can be a malicious or rogue project. Now this is not a very viable solution to give the same amount of allowance every time you are staking tokens or you are interacting with a contract or a DeFi project, because you will be spending a lot of gas in these transactions. For example, if you have 500 tokens and you are willing to stake 500 of tokens at different point of time, for example 100 for every transaction, and you are giving 100 approval every time you are staking 100 tokens. So to stake 500 tokens you are spending a lot of gas, because you are giving an approval for every transaction. So it's a very bad experience, user experience, and not a very viable solution. The next solution can be is to give a higher value as approval. For example, if I have 500 tokens and I want to stake 300 of my tokens, but not all of them currently. I just want to do 100 every day. For example, I have 500 of tokens. I want to stake 300 of my tokens 3 days. First day, second day, third day. So in order to save gas, what I can do, I can allow 300. I can get 300 allowance, because I know that I will be depositing all these 100 tokens into the contract, so it doesn't matter. So I can then deposit 100, 100 and 100. Again, this is not a good solution, because even if I'm depositing more value or more tokens to the contract, still the concept remains the same, because the project can rug pull my funds on the basis of more allowance than what I am staking into the contract, right? So what else do we have as a solution? We can do we can take help of ERP-2612. So ERP-2612 is kind of a ERP-2612 permit function. ERP-2612 has introduced a permit function. So it is kind of a signature based approval. So what you can do, we'll talk over an implementation of that just in a moment, like how ERP-2612 can be used as an implementation for expiring approvals. So that implementation has already followed by a DAI token. We'll just take a look in a moment. So let's just take the permit function, like what it is all about and what it's doing, and like what are the features of it. So if you go to the ERP2612, you will find the permit function. So the parameters are the owner and spender. Owner, as we know, the holder of the token. Spender, which we want to spend my tokens. The amount as value. The deadline, like for how much amount of time the transaction will be valid. And the VRS, the signature elements, the VR and S values. So with the help of this, like if we talk about what are the benefits of this permit function, well, it can be used as a gasless transaction. Now, gasless doesn't mean that it won't cost you gas for this transaction. It means that you can assign another party to call this function, and it will save gas on your end, because you can calculate the signature like off chain, and you can provide the signature to the signing authority or party, and the signing party can call this permit function and it will do the same. So what it does, the permit function, based on the VRS signature part, it recovers the address, so and then matches if it is the owner address. It gives an approval, or it calls the approval function. So now let's take an implementation by DAI token on how expiring approvals can be created, which can help or which can be an alternative solution to this feasible problem of giving tokens every time, giving allowance every time we are staking tokens. So currently what we have as a feasible solution is like we are limiting allowance on the basis of amount. For example, if you are worried that the project is malicious, and for example I am like at most want to give allowance as 500, so I'm sure that I have given 500 and the project won't be, even if it's malicious, the project won't be able to steal funds more than this allowance, right? But still, like the project has an allowance of 500 tokens. We can improve this by expiring approval, because currently we depend upon the amount to expire, right? So even if the project is malicious, it can spend all this 500 value, and then we will be sure that okay, now it cannot spend more than 500 tokens. So to improve that, we can implement an expiring approval kind of stuff. So this will limit the spending of my tokens on the basis of time. So let's just take a look onto that. So if I want to check, I forgot to tell you about this. So if you are implementing a permit function, you can check out an implementation by OpenZepplin. You can head over to ERC20 extension, and there is a draft ERC20 permit, so you can take help of this, and this is how permit function works. So these are the values, owner and all the values. So deadline, as I just said, make sure that it is the time processed by this transaction should be less than the deadline specified by the caller. So if it goes beyond that, it won't be marked valid. So here you can see we are using the ECDSA library to recover the address of the signer, and if it matches with the signer address, the signer's matches with the owner address, then this is valid. Otherwise we will mark the signatures invalid. And the beauty is that we can create this signature like off-chain, and another party can call this function on behalf of the owner, and then the approve function is called. Now let's take on to the thing that we were talking about, the expiring approvals. So here is the token xDai. I've just copy pasted to GitHub for better readability. Alright, let me just search the permit. Right, here you go. So here again the values are same, but they are a value that is included, which is allowed. And now let's just see how it's working. Again, there is expiry. You can think it as a deadline value, so it should be in future, otherwise it will be marked as invalid. And then again we are creating the holder address. We are calculating that the nonce is an increment to avoid the signature replay attacks. So here's the interesting part. So if the boolean value is allowed, that means we are giving the unlimited allowance. If it's not allowed, then we are giving it as 0, and then we are calling approve. And then there's the interesting part. We are calculating the expirations for the spender. So if the boolean variable is allowed, the expiration will be the expiry date, which is mentioned in the parameter, otherwise it will be 0. Now where it will be used and how it will help to limit the allowance based on time. So there's a transferFrom function, and there's a slight modification in the implementation. So here you can see we are calculating the allowance, and here if it's not unlimited, if the allowed amount is not unlimited, then transferFrom will work as usual, like a generic transferFrom. Else we'll check for the expirations. So either it should be a 0, meaning that the it should never expire for a spender because we are trusting it. Else here the expiration should be in future with the current time. So if the time expires, this transaction won't work. So that kind of interesting way we can limit our allowance on the basis of time. So for example, I have 500 tokens, so I have decided that I will spend those 500 tokens into the contract in future, and I have given allowance to the project as 500. But I got to know that the project is malicious, and or anything I changed my mind. So what I can I don't need to do anything. I can just set an appropriate value for the expiry, and it will itself mark invalid after a certain amount of time. So this is more this a better solution to what we have on the basis of amount that we are limited. Now we are limiting here on the basis of expiry. So this is all we have that we wanted to look into the unlimited ERC20 allowance. I hope it will help you in your future decisions on the basis of approval and allowance, and hope you spend your money in well audited projects. So let's meet another time, and till then, see ya, bye bye.